Okay, so let's step through a typical Kafka protocol demonstration. I have a local Kafka broker installed in my environment, and I have a bunch of topics here that you can see on the screen at the moment. Let's go into Gravitee. I've already created a demo Kafka native API. This has an entry point of foo.kafka.local and a endpoint obviously talking to my local Kafka environment. And I've already secured my API using the OAuth 2 plan, along with a OAuth 2 resource that I've already set up using my Gravitee AM service. Most importantly, because I'm using OAuth 2, I'm also extracting the OAuth 2 payload, which I use to customize the access. Okay, so let's go and have a look at this working just out of the box. The first thing we're going to do on the left window here is just list some topics. So let's just go and list the topics that we've got access to at the moment. Great. That matches exactly what we had on the screen before when we were looking at the Kafka broker. So let's prepare the windows so we can publish messages into a specific topic and consume messages from that topic at the same time. Okay, let's run a test. So test message from org2, and we obviously see those messages being consumed on the consumer side as well. We can also go into the Kafka console here and go into a specific topic and produce a message as well. So let's just do this, another message from org2. Produce that message. Now we can go back to the terminal windows and see that we've received that message as well. Good. Okay, so let's start using some of the Gravitee policies specifically for the Kafka Gateway. So the end goal here is that we have a particular client called Integrator1, and they're allowed to access topics for org2. So what we want to do is map some of these topics, these internal broker side topics, to our external client side topics. And this is obviously for ease of use, generic configuration, and it's going to reduce some of the mistakes that our clients can potentially make. So the first example here, we have a topic called integrator1.organization-bulk, and we're simply going to map that to integrator.organization-bulk. So removing that numeral 1. We've then got a second topic called integrator1.organization-update.org2, and again, for simplicity on the client side, we're going to map that to integrator.organization-updates. Again, removing the 1 from integrator and removing the need to specify .org2 at the end of that topic name. And the same concept for those integrator1 person topics as well. So the first thing we're going to do is map these topics, and then we're going to configure the Kafka ACL policy to lock down client access just to those topics as well. So let's get into that. So back into the Gravitee APIM console and into our API into the Policy Studio, we've created a new common flow, and let's add our new policy. So we want to use the Kafka topic mapping policy. So the first mapping we want to do is quite simple, really. On the broker side, it was called integrator1.organization-bulk. And we want to change that on the client side to remove that numeral 1. So we need to get this 1 from somewhere. And we're going to get that from the access token. So let's just have a quick look at the access token that the client will get when they authenticate against Gravitee. So there's the token, and on the right hand side we have our RF integrator ID, which is 1. We're going to use that to hold the integrator 1 numeral. And then we've also got an RF_org custom claim as well, which we're going to use to put into the organization. Okay, so let's substitute that 1 for a value coming from our OAuth 2 payload. So there it is there. Let me just highlight that to make it a little bit easier for you to read. So first of all, we're using context.attributes OAuth.payload. That's going to hold that OAuth 2 payload. Next, we're using the JSON path function to walk that payload and extract the RF integrator ID from that payload. Okay? And that's just going to put that there into our broker side topic. So we can now add that policy and save those changes and deploy. And now if we go back to our terminal to list those topics, we can see we've mapped that particular topic. And there we go. Integrator 1 has now been mapped to integrator.organization-bulk. So let's do the same thing for the next topic we need to do as well. So again, editing our existing policy, we can add a second topic mapping. And this time we want the client side to be integrator.organization-updates. But of course, this is going to map from that internal topic name as shown here on the screen. So again, we need to be able to use Gravitee's expression language here to dynamically change this broker side topic at runtime. So again, we need to replace the 1 with our RF integrator ID. And then we need to change the org2 and substitute that for our RF_org custom claim from our token. Okay, let's save those changes. We deploy the configuration to the gateway. And again, if we do a list topics, we now see that we have removed integrator1.organizationupdates.org2 because we have mapped that to a consumer-friendly or a client-side topic name. Okay, so let's just make sure that we can still publish and consume messages to these mapped topics. Okay, let's just prepare these 2 windows and run the consume and run the publish. So test from topic mapping 1. And we have the same message being consumed on the right-hand side as well. Again, going quickly into the Kafka console, we can go into our same topic that we were in before and produce another message. Topic mapping test. And we will have that same message come through on the consumer side. And that just shows that the topic mapping is working correctly for us. But one of the changes that we have here is that we can still list all these other topics. And we don't want to expose these other broker side topics to these consumers. So let's now use the Kafka ACL policy in conjunction with our topic mapping policy. And we're only going to expose these two topics here. So we'll create an ACL policy that uses this sort of prefix, integrator.organization, and that will limit exposure of just those 2 topics. So let's do that now. Back into Gravitee, let's go and add a Kafka ACL policy. And we need to configure the resource. So obviously we want to allow topics. We don't want to give access to any just old topic. Let's just choose the prefixed option. And we're going to put in here integrator.organization, and that's the sort of prefix for our topics. And we're going to allow read access as well. One of the other ACLs that we need to add is also to access the consumer groups as well. So let's give them read access on that consumer group as well. Cool, let's add that policy, save those changes and redeploy the configuration to our gateway. Back into the terminal windows, and now let's do a list topics. And you can see that only those 2 topics are now visible to this client consumer. We've hidden all the other topics that you can see here, as well as the client topic 1, which is something else, and our internal consumer offsets topic as well. So again, let's just go through and do some changes here. Attempt to publish. And on the consumer side, we're going to consume those messages as well. So let's set this up. Good, we're connected into both. Let's try and publish a message. And of course, this won't work because we've only allowed read-only access to the topic. So we get an expected error saying we don't have authorization. But we can still consume messages here. So let's use the Kafka UI to produce a message in our particular topic again. Visible to only read users. Produce that message, back to the terminal windows, and we see that message working as expected. So this is a good example of how we can create a Kafka protocol API in Gravitee. We can expose our internal broker side topics as something different on the client side using the Kafka topic mapping policy. And then we can secure access to those individual topics using the Kafka ACL policy. Obviously, the benefits here of doing this within the Gravitee side is that there's a separation of roles or duties from the Kafka side to how we're exposing these topics to the outside world or to our consumers. being able to control these ACLs at the gateway level allows us to utilize that authentication method, the OAuth2 plan that we just created, as well as those custom claims that are coming in from the OAuth2 token. We can apply that directly to control the access control lists given to a client to access our Kafka cluster. Thank you very much.